okay. Just, I guess, a little bit more precise with the crosshairs. I don't know why. I just got used to using it with the little fountain pen, so I use it by just tapping the caps lock. And one more tip is if you do kind of somehow magically let go of this thing, you're like, oh no, I've got a line, I want to continue it because I've maybe done some beautiful work, I don't want to have to restart. What you can do is, can you see the icon? It wants to, with a little asterisk, it means I'm going to start a new line. But watch this, when it goes to the little forward slash, that means I'm going to, hey, connect to where I was. So now, I'm kind of connecting up to where I was before. So starting a line again, just got to give it a click. And that, my friends, is a terrible flame. You are going to spend a little bit more time and get it looking great. I want you to then work on this, work on all of these guys. And what I'd love to see is both your curvature tool and your pen tool exercises side by side. Okay, so color them in, and I'd like you to, I guess, send me your side by sides so that we can kind of see which one kind of came out the best. And also drop a comment and just say, this, I found the pen tool just so much easier having the control, or man, I'm going to use the curvature tool. So just let me know the pros and cons, what you find good, what you find bad. Remember, on Twitter, it's tuts+design. And also make sure you tag me personally. I'm Dan Loves Adobe. And on Instagram, I am Bring Your Own Laptop. All right, friends, I'll see you after you've done your homework. I'll be checking, and we'll get started with the pencil tool. See you in that video next. Welcome back. This video, we are going to be looking at the pencil tool, how to make it a little bit easier to draw with so it makes you look good. Once we've done our drawings, we're going to add things like this, where we kind of have this nice kind of profiled stroke on it. We'll look at doing arrowheads, dotted lines, dash lines, and this kind of artistic hand-drawn over the top of a real image project. Let's jump in now and get started. All right, to get started, I've just created a blank page. Create it any size you like. I'm using US letter landscape. I'm going to bring in an image. So let's go to File. Let's go to Place. And in your exercise files, we're looking for one called Pencil Tool 01. Now this image comes from Unsplash. It's a really cool site that you can use for free commercial use images. Okay, so that's Unsplash. Thank you for the use of this image. And we're not going to use the template in this case, because what happens with the template is it fades it out, and I don't want that for this case. I just want to bring it in and we'll lock it. So let's click Place. Now, when you're bringing in an image, if you click once, it's going to bring it in at full size. I'll do it, you don't. You wait there, watch this. Click once, whoa, it's a big image. I'm going to zoom out, way bigger than my page. So what I'm going to do is before I place it, I'm going to zoom back in. I'm going to show you a different way of placing. So File, Place. And it's easier just to click, hold, and drag, okay? And you can just like tell it what size that you want it to be. Cool, and we could put it on its own layer and lock it, or what was the trick we used before? Object, lock, selection. All right, so let's get going with the pencil tool. It's this one here, looks like a pencil, underneath the brush tool, and you won't see it because it's hiding under the shaper tool. So shaper tool is like the first tool. Click and hold it down and grab the pencil tool. I'm gonna zoom in. What I'm going to do before I start drawing is I'm going to say I would like no fill. Okay, so red line, and the stroke I'm going to use is white. Now, by default, the pencil tool is a little weird. First thing is that I'm going to draw those wings that you saw at the beginning. So if I draw my like little wings, okay, and I draw my other little wing, and I draw my other little wing, can you see there it like deleted the first one to replace the second one? That's just one of the defaults. It means if you draw kind of a line close to the one you drew before, it tries to redraw it. I have never found that useful. Now it's joined them all up. It's a little weird. So to turn that setting off, I'm going to delete all that, is double click the tool. Double clicking the tool opens up the settings for it. And in this case, I want to say this one, keep selected. I always turn it off and I never turn it back on. You might find a good use for it, but I don't. Now when I draw stuff, okay, it is not going to keep it selected, which means it's not going to try and redraw it. Now, the other trouble is that my drawing looks terrible. Okay, so if you're not using, say, a Wacom stylus, even if you are, okay, I'm just using my regular mouse. What you can do just to make yourself look a bit better, same options, double click the pencil tool, and see what it says fidelity, you can crank up the smoothing. So down really low means it's going to follow your mouse perfectly. That's not what I want. I want it to kind of not be perfectly smooth, maybe just about there. Make me look better, Illustrator. So I'm going to draw this. And you can see, oh, look how good those lines are. So much nicer. I want a different kind of one. And I want this kind of like wing thing going on. You can see those curves. I'm just clicking and dragging pretty badly. I don't like that one. I can delete them by clicking the black arrow, hit delete on my keyboard, back to my pencil tool. Don't worry about it, Dan. Don't worry about it. I keep drawing. They look kind of cool. Anyway, kind of a wing. Stop drawing. Alright, let's look at strokes in a little bit more detail. I promised earlier on we would. So I've drawn these with the pencil tool. They are considered a stroke. Okay, and the stroke at the moment is a white line and it has these kind of flat ends. Okay, remember what those are called? Yep, the funny word. Let's grab the black arrow. Let's select them all. And let's change the stroke. So remember, we can increase the stroke. That's fine. And who remembers where we get in to change the capping at the end to make that kind of a bubble end? Remember? Click on the word stroke. There it is there. Okay, we can pick our rounded caps or the projecting cap. Okay, the other thing we're going to look at is the cornering. Can you see here it's got this nice, I want this angle, I like it, but you can change that kind of corner to be rounded as well to match the rest of it. Can you see if you want that kind of roundedness to continue? I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see it a bit better. You're watching for this guy, it's the only corner that I've got. Okay, but by default, it's a nice sharp corner, rounded, or you can miter the end or bevel it. Either one you want. Okay, and let's say I don't want this kind of, because it's the same stroke all the way along, what we're going to look at is this thing called profile. So in stroke here, all of these guys selected, go to profile, and there's a bunch of them in here that kind of look nice. Watch this, if I click this first one down, you can see what it's done. Click off, cool, huh? Okay, just gives it more of a, like a painterly stroke. Okay, have an experiment with all of these. Okay, there's different kinds of ones in here. Oh, look at that, looks good. You're thinking tribal tattoo, right? That would have been handy when that was super popular. But anyway, still kind of cool. I like it. I might select it and increase it up a little bit to give a bit more of a fuller little wing there. All right, let's zoom out. Next up with this kind of pencil drawing is we'll look at arrowheads. I'm going to grab my pencil tool again. I'm going to have some lines that come off the front of this for no reason. I try to put them all into this class to, I don't know, it's a design element. I want arrows kind of racing forward. Look how good this shoe is. Black arrow, select them all, and in the stroke here, you probably saw it before, there's one called arrowheads. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit on my arrows. Okay, click on stroke, because the arrowheads will depend on which end you stick it, depending on which way you drew it. So if I do this end, can you see it's the wrong side? So I'm going to go back to none at the top, and the second option, I'm going to pick one of the arrowheads. And luckily there's all sorts of different kinds of arrows, depending on what you consider an arrow, what you want to do as an arrow. There's lots, look at it all. Perfect. Okay, what you might find though is some of these arrows, if I click on this arrow and say you want to thicken up the line, the arrowheads get unproportionately bigger. You see the line just come up a couple of steps, but these arrowheads get huge. So nicely in the new version of Illustrator, they've changed, can you see the scale of these two arrowheads? Okay, so I can lower this down. Okay, let's say I want it to be maybe 50% of what it was. I find getting closer to a, I don't know, it feels more like a proper ratio to me. Let's zoom out. So arrowheads, the profile, we've got our pencil tool doing nice smooth stuff. Let's look at dashed lines. So I'm going to draw another line around the edge here. Look like it's been cut out. Oh, that didn't go well. Also didn't go well. I'm going to leave it there. Okay, so here's my lovely line that I want to make dashed. So I'm going to grab my black arrow, give them a select, and I'm going to say dot. And there it is there, dashed. So dashed is easy. A couple of things you might want to play around with is the weight and the capping. Okay, butt caps are just a really solid end. Okay, more kind of like traditional dotted lines. Or the rounded ones, yeah, nice round ends. I'm going to use the butt cap and I'm going to look down here. So if I just put in this measurement here, this 12 points, it's going to go a 12-point line with a 12-point gap. 12-point line, it just assumes this is what you mean. What you can do is you can say, I want a 12-point line, but a really skinny gap. So I can say I want to make it 2 points. Okay, and I'm going to click in here. You can see it's a 12-point line, but with a 2-point gap. So you can decide how you want it to be. You might decide now I want a 5 dash with a really big gap of 20. You can create your own kind of dash lines. All right, let's look at the next one. Let's look at dotted lines. Dash lines, super easy. Dotted lines, for some reason, are super complicated. Well, they're not. You're just going to have to like bookmark this video and come back to it every time. I only remember it because I have to teach this stuff. So let's grab our pencil tool and let's draw like a flight path. Imagine these shoes are flying around the world doing great Nike stuff. There we go. So I've got this line. It's removed the last thing I've done. So I'm going to click on it and go to stroke and say, let's get rid of that dash line. So back to a regular line. So to do a dotted line, you need to turn dash line on. Let's get rid of everything else in here back to kind of default. And the way you do it is really weird. The first dash you put in is 0, which doesn't do anything until you click on round caps. It needs to be 0. Then the gap is however big you want it to be. I'm going to do 12. And you can kind of see it half works. You can see it's got these like the dashes are absolutely 0. But if you make those absolutely 0 dashes round caps, they make dots. Weird, huh? I'm going to make the gap a bit smaller so it makes it a bit easier to see. I'm going to increase the weights. So that, my friends, is a really weird way to do dots. So just to recap, stroke needs to have a dash of 0, a gap any size, and just make sure your capping is rounded. Alright, so that's a mixture of the pencil tool and the stroke. Arrowheads, dots, dashed, and tribal tattoos. Next up is your homework. So in your exercise files, there is this file. It's called Pencil02. Do the same thing we did in this exercise. Bring it in, file place it, lock it, and then do your drawing over the top. Now the theme for this one is going to be travel. So think wings and planes and maps and those sorts of things. So practice your dotted lines. I want to see a dotted, a dashed, and some of the kind of more, I keep calling them tribal, but basically just those kind of nice profiled lines. Remember to adjust your pencil so that it makes your drawing look nice. Maps and planes and globes, that type of thing. Okay, I want you to draw over the top. Think artistic illustration type thing. And when you're finished, make sure you share it with us. Remember Twitter, Tuts Plus Design. I'm Dan Loves Adobe. And on Instagram, I am Bring Your Own Laptop. Hi there, welcome to this video. It's all about brushes in Illustrator. They turn boring strokes like this into handsome artistic strokes like these. Alright, let's jump in and work out how to use them in Illustrator. Alright, to get started, you're going to practice your skills from other videos. You are going to create a new document. This one's going to be portrait instead of landscape, and I want you to bring in this image here, file place it, and lock it. Okay, it's called Brushes 1. So practice those tricks. Thank you, Lawrence Green, for the image. Now we could be using our curvature tool or the pencil tool to work with brushes. Any which way you create a line. It can be, you can do it with the stroke around the outside of a circle. We're going to use the pencil tool in this case. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give my line no fill and a stroke of white so I can see it against my image. We're going for kind of an angel wing type thing. Alright, so it's not, it's okay. There we go. So once you've drawn some lines like me, we're going to find our brushes. So first up, let's select it all with a black arrow. I'm going to zoom a little bit for you. I'm going to go to my window, and all your brushes are hiding. They're kind of like, remember we did the profile in the last one where we get that nice kind of like tribal design? Brushes are similar to that, okay, but they're a little bit more artistic. So in the brush libraries here, there's lots in here. Pretty much, I'd say 90% of them are pretty bad. Okay, the good ones are hiding under vector packs, and these two are great. And other nice ones are on artistic, and some of these ones are quite cool. Okay, so we're going to explore a couple of them, and then I'll let you explore all the rest of them in Illustrator. So let's go to Window, all the way down the bottom to Brush Libraries, go to Vector Packs, and let's use Grunge Brushes Vector Pack. That opens up. I'm going to make it a bit bigger so you can see all the different brushes in there. Okay, and with these guys selected with my black arrow, all I need to do is click on one. Get ready. Giant strokes. Cool though, eh? I love it. Turns your kind of really, I guess clip art style lines into something a lot more kind of hand drawn. Now, one thing by default is that they have kind of like a preset size. So once you've drawn them or applied them like we just have, over here under stroke, you're going to have to make them smaller. Now in this drop down, you can go down only so far, like 0.5, 0.25. It's considered a hairline. That's kind of small enough probably, but say you want to go even smaller, you can actually just type it in here. So 0.25, I'm just going to go 0.05. So I'm just typing it over with my keyboard, hit return on my keyboard, and now I've got a really nice thin line. Okay, I probably want it to be a little bit bigger, so I'm thinking maybe 1.5. Cool, huh? So I'm going to select them and just go through these different options, and you can explore which ones you like the best. Okay, so I'm just going to keep clicking them while you watch. There we go, that's nice. So one thing you can do is, can you see I drew in lots of individual